Welcome to Brandverse Lunch-Hour, where we explore how the most iconic brands and people are utilizing the power of Web3 technology. I'm your host, Mina with my co-host, Roman. We're super excited to get into this episode. Lots to discuss. We're officially in the next bull run. Let's go.
It's official. It's official. Yeah, breaking news. At this point, it's been what? Since October, maybe a little bit like early November, like just been up only.
Yeah.
Absolutely like a wild feeling. It almost is that it's a sense of like, euphoria, but also like overwhelming, right? Like cuz we want to keep up with everything. You want to make sure you're taking advantage of all of the airdrops, all of the up and coming new tech, making sure that you're limiting your downside risk, making sure you're properly allocating to different tokens, different ecosystems. It's insane, impossible to keep up with everything.
Bro, the amount of coins I'm in, like, which is so interesting. So like I think what we should do is get into, so we both came in right before the bull run of 21.
Right.
I think we should talk about where we're at, um, what we're looking at, what the new metas are, right? And the metas
Yeah.
meaning like things that people are actually interested in versus, just the noise. And then how we contrast it to the bull run of 21 and why it's different. Because for me, obviously, like for me, the metas are, Bitcoin and Solana. While everything seems to be pumping, right? Ethereum's still pumping, everything's pumping, but just like where it seems like the culture is around Bitcoin and Solana, while it feels like, man, like it feels like nobody's building there, or at least things are not happening there. I'm sure people are building, but the noise seems to be concentrated in Bitcoin, Solana. For me, like I'm heavily invested. This is not financial advice, in those two ecosystems,
Right.
and it's interesting. I'm trying to see like there's so many things to be in, right? And there's so many things, popping off at the same time, and you're like, man, I'm trying not to miss anything, but also it's like it's impossible to be in everything
Yeah.
that's doing well.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, and I'll give you my thoughts afterwards, but like, how have you found those ecosystems? Like, what got you into them? How has it been so far? Like, I know you had made a move with an ordinal, which we've talked about on the show for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like, how is that whole process? Like, you signed up, like, curious, comparing and contrasting ordinals and Solana because they're really different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So curious your
I think
experience there.
so. My experience has been um, pretty interesting. I did not get into ordinals early. You got into ordinals early. Actually, I remember about a year ago, you were talking about ordinals and really doing research into it, and you had bought an ordinal. And for anybody that doesn't know, an ordinal is basically an NFT on the Bitcoin blockchain, just in simplified terms.
Mhm.
But so I did not touch it early because it was so confusing. There was not enough infrastructure. It wasn't easy to buy. You had to do a lot of like P2P stuff, right? Like get it directly from someone and trust them to send it to you. But fast forward, like Magic Eden has really done a really good job at making this ecosystem easy to kind of navigate if you're already familiar with Web3 and NFT. So most of what I've done is on the Magic Eden platform. I got into a project not super early, actually kind of late. I wish I got into it like literally 2 weeks prior than I did, but
Mhm.
I got into the puppets, right? Bitcoin puppets, which seems to be
Pups.
pups, yeah, which seems to solidified itself as like, okay, like I can, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be the next like apes of like 21, but like, hey, like I can feel comfortable. It's not going to go to zero tomorrow, at least.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's what I was really looking for. Where it's like, hey, maybe it's not going to be the biggest upside, but I want to ride the wave. Something that, like, if you're not familiar with NFTs, it is essentially, it's essentially, it's a leverage play, right? An NFT is essentially a leverage play on
You
whatever
hope.
block.
You would hope it is. Like, those
You would hope.
you hope it is. Like, you hope you find the one that taps into the upward like that correlates with
Right.
the chain. I honestly, I'm not sure that's 100% true.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, this is my hypothesis, right? Like, I was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
thinking about what worked for me in 21. What
right,
worked for me, and honestly, what worked for you is like, hey, we found projects that ran up while Ethereum also ran up,
right,
right?
right. Yeah, of
And
course.
that's what really grew our bags, right? So for me now, it's like, okay, that's kind of what happened in 21. I feel like that's kind of like at least what I think is my safe place, and what I hope to be the same in 2024. The main difference is, other than NFTs really popping off, it's really mostly the coins that are doing it this time. So it's like, maybe, I think actually in a way the NFTs are like the secondary play, while the really leveraged play is the meme coins, right? Which
Yeah,
we
we'll get into that.
yeah,
We'll definitely dive into that. I think because you're 100% right. I'm like looking at the ordinal ecosystem as that's like more of a levered play with Bitcoin, it seems like,
right,
than necessarily like the Solana NFTs, for example. Like
right,
Solana's at like 150, but you hardly hear about Mad Lads. You hardly hear about
right,
it's because the Solana meme coin craze is going crazy. And that's because the fees are so low, it's so easy to trade.
right,
And a lot of the liquidity from the Ethereum ecosystem, it always kind of shifts to Solana during off cycles. But right now, because people are making so much money on meme coins, you're seeing ETH NFTs bleed out while Ethereum runs up.
right.
So you have projects, um,
Well,
like Pudgy
also
Penguins.
talk real quick about like the psychological difference it is from a gas fee perspective.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's insane. So basically, when the Ethereum network becomes congested, there's something called a gas fee, and a gas fee is the price you pay to submit
Like a
a
transaction.
transaction onto the smart contract. So it costs a lot of money. Like for me to bridge my money and get my money, cost me like $400,
Yeah.
$500. It's insane, and that's because of the congestion on chain, and that typically happens when there's a lot of volatility. So right now we've seen a price move. I'm looking at the chart right now. We're at the timing of this recording, we're at 3,842 on Ethereum.
Wow.
And the price of Ethereum on January 1st was 2,300. So we're up $1,500 since the start of the year, which is less than 60 days.
Yeah.
So because there we go. Because of that, there's so many people using it. Now it's an exciting time, I think, and I'll get into. I want to talk about like our strategies and stuff. I mean, let's start with the Solana ordinals. Let's talk about meme coins, and then the third. Let's talk about the third 10 minutes. Let's talk about me and you taking what we learned from 2021 and how
Yeah.
we're applying it to 2023 or whatever year this is,
Yeah.
2024. So for me, like I've been messing around with the Solana meme coins a lot because to your point, like the fees on Solana are non-existent. So Solana is an L1 blockchain. An L1 blockchain is its own blockchain that runs on its own infrastructure that's different and not built on Ethereum. It's not EVM compatible. EVM meaning like Ethereum based. So it's an L1. So Solana has no gas fees essentially or negligible gas fees. So people who, instead of because really on Ethereum, you have to have like at least $1,000 to play with, like at
Yeah.
least because
Yeah.
it's just too many fees off and on. But on Solana, you can literally go on with $50, and if you make $57, you can cash that out because there's no fees.
Right.
So it's way more. And I just made a post about this. It's way more. It's an amiable chain for retail. So like I think a lot of these dog with hat a lot of these projects that are blowing up, that's going to bring retail on and they're going to discover Solana. And honestly, if I was a Solana, holder, I'd be really excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say Solana holder, you're talking about literally holding the actual token itself.
Yeah, I just think the retail, like similar, like we brought kind of retail onto NFTs, like
Yeah.
Top Shot, like opened the door to retail to
Yeah.
NFTs, and we were part of that, I guess,
Yeah.
the retail
Yeah.
people that came in and we
Yeah.
stuck around. I think there's going to be a lot of that for Solana.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's interesting. Like I don't know if the general public can can really grasp. I think it's easier to grasp an NFT because it feels like it has a personality versus just a token that everybody's trading on retail. But maybe they look at it as a stock, right? Like for
Like
me, I got
Dogecoin, man. Like,
Dogecoin. That's true. Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, it's just like you all of a sudden it gets listed on, you know, OKX and
Yeah,
MEXC or BitMEX, and then from there it goes on to Binance, and then all of a sudden it's on Coinbase, and then all of a sudden it's
and then it's
on
over.
Robinhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
Webull, and like it's just an easy way to buy it up. And like those are kind of the things where it's like it doesn't really matter if it's on Solana or not. Like, you know, Dogecoin is on like its own network.
yeah.
It's not like an EVM compatible chain. So for me, I'm looking at that as a real possibility. I don't know how far we're gonna go with this.
Where do you think? So the funny part is, right? Like we talked a little bit about this, that rates haven't even come down yet, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
of this buying action is initially spurred by the Bitcoin ETF approval. Obviously, inflows coming in, right? Like institutions starting to get involved, but like probably a lot of it is FOMO, right? It's like, hey, price action. We see inflows. People don't want to miss out. So it's very interesting. Like, what the hell happens? Like for me, I think there's so much runway because rates haven't even come down yet, right? From a macro perspective. So if and when that happens, it's like, holy crap, where does this even go? You might be frozen.
yeah,
Yeah, you might be frozen. But overall, like I'm sitting here like we probably still have a lot of runway to go. It's obviously never goes as high as you know everybody expects, right? Like I keep hearing, oh, Bitcoin at 500 this time, and Bitcoin at we're going to 1 million, and like okay, long run maybe it's true. Like I hope it's true, but ultimately like it never pumps as high as you think it will. There's always kind of a cap to like people's excitement and FOMOing and stuff like that. I do think the difference this time, though, at least from the Bitcoin perspective, is there is a narrative that there's only a, a few
yeah. It's a
Bitcoin.
little nerve wracking, and I agree with you. Like the
You got it. I think your internet connection is a little tough right now.
oh really?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hold on.
That France
Am I still frozen?
ecosystem. That France, a little. You're better now. You're better now.
Mhm.
Can Yeah, it's like kind of lagging and stuff. All right, I see you moving. Hopefully, it gets better. Are you back? You back? You're on
Oh,
mute now.
hopefully I'm back. If
Okay, you're
I'm back,
back.
if I'm not,
I
I'm
think
not.
you're back.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, essentially, uh, when I look at what we learned in 2021, you mentioned that you never really expected to go as high as you think. I
Yeah,
think it's the opposite. I think you have to be prepared and have a plan about what you want out of this cycle and what you're investing,
yeah,
because when things go further than you expected them to and
yeah,
prices rise higher than you thought were possible, that's when you start getting really greedy. That's when you start really taking big risks, and you have to be careful. Like I was part of cycles last time that, 1,000x. Like you didn't think it was possible. You know, this thing was worth 10 grand. Now it's worth 50. Now it's worth 250, and now it's worth 400. You know what I mean? It's like it's a
yeah,
crazy thing that happens. So there's a couple of ways I'm staying prepared this cycle. Number one is I'm making sure that I'm only investing what I can afford to lose.
yeah,
Number two, I'm also making sure that I am investing and looking at, this is not financial advice. I'm making sure that I'm looking at and the like emerging leaders, so relative strength against ecosystems. It's like a very omni-chain environment, and there's like outsized. There's gainers, right? Like you're already seeing like OMB, for example, on Bitcoin. I could have bought it at 0.3. I knew it was the blue chip. Knew it was the punks of Bitcoin. Could have bought it at 0.3. No, I'm gonna wait. Too expensive. 20 grand. Can't do it. 0.5. 0.7. Now it's 1.6 Bitcoin. It was just obvious. It was relative strength against the ecosystem, right? And the winners run. The winners run way more than people think they will. That's how Dog with Hat. I'm sure 10x's from here, or 5x's. I'm not saying I'm sure, but I can see that happening. So understanding when there's a clear-cut winner, that you're not late, that your actually downside risk is minimized, and those things tend to run further because that's where the flight to quality happens. And the final thing I'll say is you have to be ready for the commitment of owning an asset that is super volatile, right? In a market condition that can change on a dime, because it's still PvP, you know what I mean? And it's getting into an easier mode, but people who care more than you will get out before you. And if they do, that's less money in your pocket. So those are the three things I'm really focused on this bull market. I think it's an exciting time because there's so many different ecosystems, but there's also it can be very distracting. I think the sleeping giant is the Ethereum NFT ecosystem. To me, it's crazy that people are just discounting it, and that emotion I play against. So I'm looking at, the Ethereum ecosystem hardcore right now. You got Pudgy Penguins at 12. I mean,
is it at 12?
Yeah, they're at 12. That's an interesting one for me. You got Squiggles, at 7, right? You got Fidenzas at 40. You're talking about projects that are not just no utility JPEGs that are flash in the pan, right? They have provenance. They may not have the fervor of excitement around them, but they're built Pudgy Penguins does, by the way. A month ago, we were heralding Pudgy Penguins as they were a Brandverse cover story. So I'm curious, So anyway, that's kind of how I'm looking at this cycle.
No, I think, look, there's, it's interesting. I think there's two ways to do this, to play this cycle, right? You either play the metas, which is more short term, so that can last 2 months to a month of excitement around the specific chain or moment or whatever, right? Or you go counter to what the excitement is. So to your point, Ethereum's running, but none of the NFTs are running on the Ethereum chain, right? So you go that play, and you're like, hey, listen, I have belief in a certain number of these, right? Maybe you is not doing great, but Punks sticks around. Maybe Apes are not great, but Pudgies are going to run. They're going to be the runners this time. So, you make that bet versus you run with the Bitcoin and the Solanas or whatever NFT, thing is popping off at the time.
You want to lead the meta. In my mind, the meta, if you're buying into meta, then you have to be very short term and switched on, because that's you're buying high. So it's that meta is not going to last. It's buy high, sell higher. Whereas you have to be really dialed in, understand where your margins are. And the great thing about what the ordinals ecosystem is happening right now, there's a little pullback happening, which is healthy. Because then I really do think there's a whole narrative. And the other side of the argument is you're getting in on the ground level of a lot of the next IP that will run this space for the entire bull run. You know what I mean?
That's also on the ordinal side, I got into pups around probably 0.18. It's now down to 0.65 or something like that. For me, I'm okay with a pullback, because I think the hypothesis is, especially on ordinals, those run when Bitcoin runs, right? Which is a little different from the way Ethereum NFTs used to run back in 21. When Ethereum ran a lot, there was a huge pullback on prices for NFTs, right?
It depended though what part of the cycle. I mean, Punks were at, Apes and Punks 450, 480 grand. I believe that Ethereum was at high 30, they were at 130, 140 ETH floor. And then that was probably, you're right. It wasn't all-time highs convergent. So I agree with you. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So but in Bitcoin, it is like that. At least that's from my short amount of time in the ecosystem. It's it does kind of run like that. If people are excited about Bitcoin, they want to leverage up on an NFT.
Yeah. No, right? You're 100% right. I think,
right, because because that's how like, look, if you just invest in the less risky thing, right? To de-risk yourself is you just hold Bitcoin, you hold Ethereum, you hold Solana, and then you run up, 2 to 3x on this rally, right? And you're like, and you're happy, right? Like, it depends on, to your point, what am I trying to get out of this bull run, right? It doesn't last forever. It probably lasts, right? 21 lasted for what? How long? Maybe a year of like consistent high.
No, there was like a really big dip at one point. I mean, it's like, about a year. I would say,
Right.
I would
probably,
say 10 to 12 months.
probably like December of 21 December of 2020 into like the high of like November 21. That was like the highest we've ever got.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then like prices were still stable. But I'm saying like the peak was like it got
you're 100% right.
Right. But also, like, here's the bull case. Here's the bull case. Like, the bull case is,
let's hear the bull case.
We haven't even seen it because rates have not even come down yet. It really, like, that's the thing that really baffles my mind. Like, that's my bull case of like, hey, I don't even care about price action right now because rates haven't even come. What the hell happens when that happens?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. And we've been tracking that specifically through you, like, for years now on this show. Legitimate years. So to see that line up with an Ethereum ETF approval, which would absolutely change the paradigm of this entire space that we play in, especially when it comes to Ethereum. And that's why I think Ethereum has the most upside right now. Solana has amazing upside, obviously, I think because of where its prices and the unit economics of it. But when you talk about Ethereum, I just think that ecosystem has laid the foundation from a regulatory perspective, through the tech kind of perspective, through true decentralization. It outpaces Bitcoin in terms of utility. It outpaces Solana in terms of developers and L2s and talent. So we'll see how that looks. But yeah, so we got rates.
By the way, there is an update. Sorry, there is an update on the tech side. So there is going to be a huge update to the Ethereum chain, I think tomorrow, right? Which should speed up a lot of the scalability of Ethereum, especially for L2s building on it. So
that's good. I mean, it's just tough because the gas fees are the biggest problem that people have with the chain.
Right.
But anyway, so the bull case, like the triumvirate of like the bull case for me is like, okay, you got rates coming down, you got the Bitcoin halving, and you have this Ethereum ETF all in May. I'm kind of getting behind the sell in May and walk away. It's starting to go in my head a little bit because it's I
don't know, feel man. You have an election. It's an election year. So you're talking about rates coming down probably by June, July, which should spur some excitement in the market, right? July, August is usually a little down, but you might, like, if you go by May, walk away, you could miss like potentially a peak in September.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Yeah, no, and maybe it's just like you take some off the table and then you reevaluate. Because I'm narrative driven. And I've just got out of Blast, and we can talk about that if you want. But, now I'm more focused on, you have these like amazing technical advancements, which is great, like the Bitcoin L2s that are being shipped and all these companies that are being shipped. But the real shift is technical infrastructure that's being built in the bear. That's amazing. And those equity investments and things are super important. But now the main export of crypto is culture, because that is now how the speculation begins. You see it with the memes. You see it with the fervor that occurs. The export becomes culture. So you look at narratives that can build and take off that are wrapped around really dope tech. That's the perfect kind of mesh. So, I'm hoping this time around, like Wormhole just just had their airdrop today. Really amazing, like multi-chain protocol that lets you bridge your stuff all in one area. Or on one platform. So
really across different chains?
Yeah. You got to check it out. It's called Wormhole.
It's cool. Wormhole.
Yeah, Wormhole. It's powerful tech, like stuff like that. Where last ecosystem, it was just like it's just grown. It's grown. Like the civilization is growing, right? There's more irrigation networks. There's more, how that looks, right? Like I'm feeling that way. So for me, I'm a kind of a stalwart when it comes to my Ethereum conviction, at least at this point. Like I'm not moving off that. I'm staying in ETH, and it's been really awesome. And I'm not sure that the ecosystem truly appreciates how far ahead it is. So that's kind of my take.
Ethereum is much further ahead. The one thing about Ethereum is they got to fix the transaction fee problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
Because if it does not get fixed and they just keep saying, okay, well, you have L2s and this and that, no problem. The L2s are not the fix for the main net transaction gas problem. It's not. It's obviously not. So nothing's happened there, right? We thought when we went from proof of work to proof of stake, that would get fixed. It didn't. Right? Maybe this new upgrade is going to help L2s, but will transaction fees come down on L1s just from a psychological standpoint? Right? People are trading at this point, the billions on freaking BankBot and all this other crap because it's just so easy, right? When things are easy and it's like, why would I spend I'm making $1 million. Why would I spend $500 on this stupid transaction fee when I don't have
exactly?
To, right? You know what it reminds me of? It's like this is not. They're probably not even in the same world. But what the lead OpenSea had, versus everybody else,
scary.
They just squandered it. Right? I went on OpenSea today. Okay, It's like. It's so sad. I gotta be on. I clicked on the VIP. Let me just show you. Let me show you real quick because I put this in our weekly roundup and I thought it was cool that Coachella's doing this thing with OpenSea. But they launched this on OpenSea, probably thinking OpenSea is the place to do things. And actually, if I think something went, they might have taken this down. It's impossible that they actually took it down. Wait. No, wait, because I just clicked on this.
Yeah, it's so buggy too.
It's buggy.
I can see everything.
You see it? But like,
yeah.
Okay, because I clicked on minting and okay, here. Sorry. Bro, there's 28 minted out of 1,000 for Coachella and OpenSea on the main page.
That's tough. That's a tough look. I don't like to see that.
In what world would this happen? Couple of years ago. No way.
So you're saying you fear that Ethereum is the OpenSea of crypto?
My point is I've been such an Ethereum maxi, especially in 21. It's where it's like why we're still in this space. But I didn't realize how big of a problem the transaction fees were until Solana really started pumping. And I just kept hearing it's so easy to do everything here. Launch projects. You can trade meme coins here. All of that stuff in one place with no fees. That's crazy.
That is. And like, I would say that's the future. But when you look at what's happening on the Ordinals network, it shows that even with fees, people are drawn to the speculation. Like, if there's money, liquidity,
the fees are not. But I will say the fees are not even close.
I know, but obviously, right? I know, but right now the gas fees on Ethereum are crazy. But that always happens when there is like a gas crisis, when the price is just going absolutely nuts. Like the amount of people on Ethereum right now are like there's so many because the price is running so much. So I will say, typically, like it wasn't this way last year. You know what I mean? Like it was usable. Like it was still a pain in the ass, but it wasn't like crazy. Like this happens. But there's no defending it. You're 100% right. Like in a perfect rational world, like it's just you cannot compare the Solana no fees to Ethereum. But the infrastructure that makes it truly decentralized and how far that comes in terms of permissionless smart contracts, that's a different value proposition that we're not really diving into. That when you truly do compare Solana to Ethereum, there's some major differences that depending on where you fall, either matter or don't matter. And that's something that should be, it's not just like, hey, this, pick this one because it's lower fees. There are other things that go into it, but for the sake of just, aping into meme coins or aping into other kind of speculative assets, then yeah, I think Solana is by far the more suited option for that type of transaction.
But can I just on that point? I think one of my things, like, I don't understand the narrative of have so many different L2s and try to get everybody to figure them out, right? So you have Polygon, Arbitrum, you have how many other things are built on the Ethereum L2
Blast.
Are Blast, you got all of these ecosystems, and everybody's supposed to figure it out. Like, it's a lot. So meaning what I'm thinking is, if you don't fix the main net and you think everybody's just going to figure out the side chains versus the main net on Solana and everything's being done there, why wouldn't developers or other people want to build there? Because of the ease of use. I agree. Like, I think Pudgies, to your point, are going to run. I think they're going to run. But do I think a new project that comes on the chain, like we saw in 21, has the chance to do that? I don't necessarily think so.
Gotcha. Because you just don't think the audience will be there because the fees are so high.
Because all the new people, all the new projects are being done on these other chains, which is ease of use, or the fees are lower or what.
But also those L2s, like, are they levers on, like, you talk about NFTs being a lever on the actual, like, coin themselves? Are the L2s a lever on top of Ethereum? Like, if you
I think
the more valuable
hopefully,
and more like I mean, you have Blast, which is coming out. Obviously, you mentioned Arbitrum. There are a bunch of other ecosystems too. You have the super chain with Optimism and Base. Like, to your point, we're going to see so many different entry points, and there's a war going on amongst chains. Where does that leave CryptoPunks? Where does that leave the Fidenzas of the world? Where does that leave the Squiggles? Perhaps they're not as cool as they once were, which is something that we have to think about too. I personally think that Solana, there's a lot of upside, but there's going to be a lot of turnover as well. Like, a lot of projects that come through, like Mad Lad seems to be the leader, but there's going to be a lot of turnover. So inherently, there's a lot of risk when you're messing around in the ecosystem if you're not switched on. I think you're better off just, like, obviously with Solana coin. Like, I mean, man, it's just crushing. It's like today it's up, what, 15%?
Yeah.
So I'm more comfortable with Solana as an L1 than almost every other L1 out there. But we'll see. I mean, it's just such a fun time right now, like messing around with different ecosystems, checking it out. And the Ordinals ecosystem will come a long way from even where it was last year, dude, when we first started. I mean, gosh, I made a post about it. I was doing spreadsheets last year, I should have bought way more stuff. I should have went crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that I saw. I mean, geez, I can't even tell you, man.
What was around? Actually, yeah, you were playing it. I'm curious. What was around last year that's still around this year and crushing?
Well, the OMBs are.
Yeah.
They came out like 3 to 4 months after February. The Bitcoin mushrooms and, like, early sats, like the early inscriptions on ordinals are still very much. If you get an ordinal inscription under 100, that's what you could have bought back in February for like 20, 30 grand. Now they're like 500, 600 grand. You know what I mean? So, like,
That's
those,
wild.
yeah. I mean, like, Christie's did the Bitcoin mushrooms, the early inscriptions. Then you also had the D Gods did their early Bitcoin stuff, and then 12-fold from Yuga. Both are underperforming against what's happening in the rest of the market. So, you have to pay attention. That you have to pay attention where you fit into the narrative, because Bitcoin punks are still a thing because they're early inscriptions too. So there's built-in value there. And then there was the first BRC20 token, which I bought, called Ordi. And I mean, dude, I again, like, to anybody watching this, like, I sold the bottom on this stuff. Like, I'm not here to flex my bags or anything like that. We're all in this together to figure it out. So I think I bought like a bag of Ordi which was the first BRC20 token. So BRC's like rolled out, and I bought the first one, and I bought it at $3 a piece. Today it's at like $95. So that would have been a nice 30x, but I ended up selling way earlier than that. But anyway, so that's kind of the thoughts around.
That's cool. I was just curious. Like I wasn't following this at all. So I was just kind of curious as to like what's doing well, what's not. Because at the end of the day, it's still really early. So like the thing I got into, like I don't know if it's going to be around in a week or 2 weeks, right? Like you really do have to.
The pups are, you definitely got to follow it on a weekly basis. You should know where how the narrative is shaped. Yeah, because like Node Monkeys, they had that really. I mean, they were really almost like
they're about to hit a 1 Bitcoin, and now they're back at 5. Everything's coming back down. Yeah,
exactly. But it's still a pretty big deal. Like, I mean, Bitcoin Puppets are still like the number 6 project. Right. I mean, they're doing good volume over Quantum Cats. For me, it's like Bitcoin Puppets, Quantum Cats, Node Monks, OMB, and then I've been saying I don't know what the 5th one is.
Yeah. So like this is currently what's leading on Magic Eden right now. Node Monks, Quantum Cats, Puppets at 4, Nat Cats I was looking at, Frogs, all this stuff. So but to your point, you had like I was looking at this. Where is it? The punks, right? Ordinal punks, 3.9 BTC. So that was like the early thing that you're talking about. So
because like it's not, the narrative is cemented because of the provenance of the tokens themselves, because they're such early inscriptions.
Right.
So like even if it was a picture of like,
as well.
Right.
Mushrooms
exactly.
4.5. Jesus.
Yeah, click on that. I'm curious, like if what they look like on Magic Eden. Like, can you buy them on Magic Eden?
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can. Wow, man. So 5 Bitcoin is what?
That 5 Bitcoin's a lot.
$300,000, maybe more. $360,000.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy, and then
it's insane.
We'll see. Like the narrative.
19 days, by the way, 19 days ago, 1.1 BTC. And it just one of them just sold for 4.75 BTC
19 days ago. And honestly, it seems like it's cooling off now. You know what I mean? I'm not sure you want to get in on that now. Like I'd wait 3 weeks, right? Yeah, exactly. So like these windows close, these metas change, and we saw it in the fall and December for the Solana ecosystem. Like I was FOMOing in, I kept losing. And then in the beginning of the year, I can't remember what it was, but then now it's all about ordinals and Bitcoin. I mean, ordinals and Solana. It's really about meme coins right now, though. It's actually shifting away from ordinals.
Yeah.
And now it's like it was ordinals and meme coins. And now it's like, actually, it's all meme coins.
Yeah.
And like that's really going hard right now because it's so profitable, man. People are going crazy.
Yeah. People are going nuts. The thing is, though, like, look, everybody's always going to find the next thing to rotate into, right? Like that's like fundamentals. Like, let's just talk about fundamentals. I think that we've kind of learned from like 21 into now, right? It's like the fundamental thing that you should know is everything's cyclical, everything rotates, right? So people make profit, they want to make more profit, so they try to find the next thing and they rotate into whatever.
When things are going up, they rotate back into the ecosystem.
Rotate into it, right? So it's like, okay, so Bitcoin's going to go down a little bit now, or the ordinals are going to go down a little bit now. They're going into meme coins. Okay, that's going to be that's going to take a little bit of time. That might pump all the bags to whatever. They'll take some profit, and then they'll probably put it into like Ethereum when the Ethereum news of the ETF comes out, right? So that Ethereum probably pumped to like 5 at that point, 5,000, and bags start flying in there. So you're going to consistently get a lot of these different pumps.
I'll give my take on that because I've been thinking a lot about that. So when things are moving rationally and we can kind of make sense of the world, and we can't right now because things are just pumping and we weren't expecting it. But typically you look at like stocks are hitting all-time highs. So the level investors have a lot of money, but they kind of tapped out. They can't 2x their money no longer in the stocks. So they go to Bitcoin, and then they go to Bitcoin and they realize the institutions have already been there. And then they go to Ethereum, And then you go to NFTs. You go where the risk is higher, depending on where you're comfortable with, to like make your money. And I do feel like because we saw all-time highs with crypto in the fall of 2021. We're talking October, November 2021. We saw all-time highs with NFTs 4 months later, 3.5 months later, right? About February or March. Everything went to hell in May, but in April it was a little bit down. It was still pretty high, but by March things were like pretty euphoric in NFT land because it seemed like crypto has kind of mellowed out. So for me, I'm riding crypto over NFTs until I feel like this run is kind of petered out a little bit. You know what I mean? Because as much as I can, because I just do feel like we're going to end up flowing back into NFTs, ordinals, and there's going to be a lot of newly minted millionaires that end up rotating their money back into more JPEGs and such.
The only thing is like, and I don't know if it's possible, but like, I wish, like, I'm probably going to, like, if I believe that puppets are just part of like the ordinals culture, then I would want to pick one up, obviously, when it's down, right? Like, at this point, like, if you know an ecosystem, like we know kind of the Ethereum ecosystem.
If you know an ecosystem, then you know, and you believe it'll come back.
When they're low.
You should buy it when, you should buy it when it's low. I feel like that's pretty fundamentally.
No, but because we're talking a lot about like money cycles in when shit's going up.
I totally agree with you. It's not easy to buy low, by the way.
It's not. No, it's very hard. But the point is like, okay, well, like if you sit around for a while and these continue to be top 3, top 5, whatever, then you know, like, okay, pretty as safe as you can get in this stupid over leveraged world, that okay, if I stay here or I pick them up when they're low, then you know it should run up when it goes high. Like
they'll be part of the next wave.
And that's the point of like actually like being a part of the culture, right? Like that's the point, right? Like, why do people say like, hey, you're going to get rewarded if you're just part of the culture? Maybe you're not going to get the most followers, this or that, but like, hey, if you stick around, you're just going to learn at least the habits of buyers, and you're going to be able to kind of take advantage of that.
And you're also going to be able to read the vibes, read the market, understand which collections are standing out, and also create conviction. Because if you have conviction, then you have confidence that, hey, the ordinal market, maybe it's cooling down a bit, but this is just the calm before the storm. We got a lot, at least until May, and it's going to cycle back in. I'm going to pick up another couple of puppets because I know that the narrative won't change around them. And they'll run with the rest. It's an index on the ordinal market. They'll run with the rest of them. That's how it used to be with the mid caps too, right? Like Moonbirds, Pudgies, Doodles, Clonex. Like it used to be like, okay, like Doodles are running, and like let me buy a bunch of Clonex because the money that made it, like that used to rotate around mid caps between announcements.
Right.
And if you're tapped in, you can see that. So like I'm seeing that happen again on ordinals. Again, not financial advice. And also I don't own any ordinals besides one that I bought that's like random, last year. But, that's kind of how
the one issue is, I'll say the one issue is it's hard because you don't understand. These things are running because the price of Bitcoin runs, right? They're not really running for any other reason. And they're part of culture, right? People are talking about them on Twitter. That's it. Like there are no announcements like with Ethereum and the cycle we went through. They ran because there was an announcement coming. It was speculation of the announcement, right? Of whatever they're going to drop, the new collection, the companion drop, right. Whatever. These things don't do that, right? Like, why do meme coins run? Just hysteria.
But that was also in the beginning. Why does something worth something? Because it's an NFT. And then because the market becomes more competitive, you have to offer more. And then because you're offering more, then you need to become a company. And then because you're a company, you need to raise money. Then you need to have a business model. Like, I think it's just early. Like, the IPs are early. People are excited about it. It's still relatively new. Like, and these people, they're fighting for market share and IP that will like kind of matter in the future. But like, certainly, like, especially if you look at like, we're talking about ordinals being around for, the next 20 years, I doubt that'll be the case for much longer, where it's just like, you'll have Bitcoin artifacts, which are just like, no utility, just picture of a wizard or whatever, but nobody's going to give a shit about that in a year. I don't think.
How are the tap roots? Right? Wasn't taproot a thing?
So the Taproot protocol is what enables the ordinals on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. The Taproot Wizards are a group that has quantum cats.
Oh, okay.
And they also etched another one called I think you could look it up on Magic Eden Taproot Wizards. I think it is a collection.
I thought it was. I can't find it though. There's nothing at least high enough for them to be.
Well, I think the Taproot Wizards they inscribe like top 10 ordinals.
Okay.
Like some of the highest inscriptions because they're with quantum cats.
I did want to ask you a question, aside of this. Like,
yeah.
Do you think that the meme, so the dog, if whatever, and the Bretts and all these other, coins, do they become groups and companies and stuff or endow? Like, what do they become? Where did the money go? Does anybody know this?
Like who? Well, that's a freaking good question. It's kind of different.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that we're so confused? Where does the money go?
Where does the money go? Well, it's a currency, right? So it's a little different than it being like an NFT that has mint funds sent to a contract. Like it's like there's a certain amount of tokens that the dev owns.
Yeah.
That they get, but this buying and selling is between buyers.
Right.
It's not all from the project owners.
Right, but somebody obviously launches the contract, right? People get excited, whatever. Like, I wonder if these groups start trying to push out whatever, any sort of utility. Because as of right now, everything on like Solana meme coins,
that's a good point.
There is no utility. There is nothing.
Yeah. See how it happens, right? It's like all of a sudden there's utility and we're like getting excited about like, oh my God, meme coins with utility. And like we go to that and then all of a sudden it turns into something else. Like I think that's really interesting. I'd love to see that, honestly. Like if you own a meme coin, all of a sudden their dog with hat festival that's happening in Austin, Texas.
Right.
Like we're fucking storming Area 51 or something I've seen. I don't know. Dog with hat. The hat stays on is unreal. It's a hell of a meme.
It is. Yo, I never thought I would get so into meme culture, but this crap really, I'm like, it's so confusing.
Dude, I'm so bad at it. I've never made money on meme coins. I suck at it so badly.
I'm just trying to pick like 3, and I'm like, hey, I'm riding with. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'm riding with these. I don't care what else happens.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm riding with these, and like, I'm just hoping that they go to Valhalla. I have nothing, no safety net. I'm just ready to lose all my money. It's just like, wow, like this is why I have my strategy. Like this is why I don't let my greed and impulse actually control my wallet, because like I'm just chasing get rich quick fucking schemes, which is fine and it's fun, but it just never ends well. Like everybody loses. Everybody loses. There's one guy everybody knows that won, and that one guy convinces everyone else that we can live.
The crazy part is, what's so interesting? Like, how many things did we talk about today that are so polar opposites of each other? They are like literally, we're like, hey, you should have a strategy. You should get out when you're ready. And we're like, but if you do it, be ready that everything's gonna go to.
Yeah. And by the way, if you have a winner, let it run, and you'll know. And you'll know.
You never know. Nobody ever knows. That's the problem.
I feel like I knew. I know it sounds crazy, but like I felt like I knew with the Bored Apes. Like I had
I will say, and this is live, wherever we're live, I will say when it came to that ecosystem, you are the only person that I knew that really knew.
Yeah, thank you.
You really knew. You freaking crushed that.
I feel like that was what ended up happening was, right now we're in this, like I mentioned to open up the show, like the main export of that whole movement was culture. And then when that culture became a product, that's when it started going like losing everything. So like I'm looking for those market leaders that push culture, that make crypto not fucking for neckbeards and scammers and weirdos. Bored Apes did that for a little bit. People forget that. Like Jimmy Fallon was bringing Bored Apes around. Justin Bieber had it. Neymar, like they were pushing NFTs, pushing culture to a point we hadn't seen before. So I'm looking for that culture on this run as well. And you know when you got it. I mean, you can only lease cool. You can't own cool. So that's also just a part of life. Like I had somebody last night I went to dinner with. He's a really prominent artist in the Web3 space. We're all out to drinks. And he said Bored Ape is the Ed Hardy of the NFT space.
That's funny.
And I was just like, it hurt to hear that.
Oh,
it hurt.
Ed Hardy. I remember Ed Hardy. That was
because like, you see a guy with the Bored Ape on his profile now, and it's kind of like a dude wearing Ed Hardy.
It's like, yeah,
in a
what
way.
are you doing, man? Yeah. What are you doing? I feel like we stopped
That might be
doing
a little harsh, but he said it. I just kind of in my head. I didn't say it, but
they did so much for us. Like Ed Hardy, they did so much for us.
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding me? Ed Hardy on Long Island, circa 2005.
Oh man, what was that? 2005, 6?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah. Between
Man,
2005 and 2010.
They really did so much for us, for our youth.
Yeah, gosh, I know it was a tough. That was a tough time. But I think we'll see what's next, and we'll be keeping our eyes peeled. We got another. If you haven't subscribed to Brandverse, by the way, and you're watching this, and we'll record this if you missed it, make sure you do. We're trying to get up to 150 subscribers so we could publish the newsletter directly on LinkedIn. So follow the links, follow Brandverse. We'll be doing this twice a week now.
Yeah,
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So Thursday will probably be like a half-hour show. Tuesday will be a long show, but we were really vibing today. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it is a different energy for us when this is happening. Like,
I mean, this is what it's all about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what we do best. I think I'm more suited to this. I'm here for it. So, my lighting. Sorry, the sun went down, but I'll be back in New York with you in May. So that'll be good for the show as well.
Let's go.
And we'll keep pushing. And then we have a newsletter coming out on Thursday. I published a little piece that I wrote about my views on meme coins on my LinkedIn. Feel free to check it out. Covered in this conversation a little bit. And then Mina posted the weekly roundup. You better check that out to keep updated on what's going on.
We're publishing, should be published by like 3:00 today, EST. So yeah, check that out. We're also now on YouTube. Brandverse is now on YouTube. So we're on YouTube.
Wow.
LinkedIn. Yeah. We're we're coming up here. So we're gonna keep pushing. And we actually probably syndicated on Twitter as well. I just got to figure that out. So we'll keep pushing. We're excited. We're back in the bull run. So catch us Tuesday, Thursday. Lots to discuss, lots to talk about. Be safe. Watch out for scams. Watch out for investing money you don't have. Don't over leverage yourself. It's really not worth it. And we're excited to build with you in this new bull run. And we'll see you soon.
All right. See y'all.
See y'all.